Hey, welcome back. I know it's been a while since we've had an updated video. It's been going down. But anyway, today we're going to be finishing up. Well, not finishing up, but I don't know where the we're going to get. But we're going to keep working on this Valkyrie because there's got to be something positive in this world. And Battletech/Robotech is positive enough for me. All right, so we got a base coat of black on the weapon systems and like the feet and the hands. So we're going to go give this a little bit more depth today. And since I've got a real matte black on here, and black's hard to highlight. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a faux black on the big areas of this. And a good faux black is dark sea blue. You can use coal black from P3, tire rubber from Secret Weapon, any other colors that kind of have a blue-black look to them. And what this does is it actually, well, it brings out the model. It gives the illusion of black armor plates or black weapons. So what we do is we don't paint all of the area. We leave the recesses and the corners. So we leave kind of a line there to break between the white and the blue-black. We leave kind of a line of the flat black. It's really hard not to lick your paintbrush, because that's what I've done for 20 years or better, to tip my brush. So now we've got all our black, the feet, the guns, the head lasers underneath here, the hands. So now it's got a little bit more depth to it. It's got this bluish black look. So next we're going to do some edge highlighting with some somber gray. So next we're going to highlight our black with some somber gray. It's kind of a bluish gray. We're not going to pick out all the edges, because when you do that, it makes whatever you're painting look like Tron if everything is highlighted. So you just pick out some select edges to highlight. And if you hear my paint clacking and you're like, that sounds weird, it's because I put a shaker ball in all my paints, whether I need it or not. So somber gray is a little bit thick, so we're going to put a little bit of water on our brush and thin it out just a little bit, because we don't want paste on the model. Get off there, water drop. There we go. Now we get a little bit thinner. So what we're going to do is, using the side of our brush, not the point, but the side of our brush, we're going to do some light highlights. If you look at any like the old how-tos for painting black armor or black cloth from like the 90s and early 2000s, they always highlighted with Games Workshop Shadow Gray. Well, they don't make that color anymore, but Vallejo does, and it's this somber gray, and this is just kind of how I learned to do it, so it's how I do it now. It's kind of cheaty. There are way better ways to do this, but a lot of those are just way too time consuming for my mediocre ass. And I find that this look gives a clean look. And I can kind of control the what I want to be accentuated with this model. And I like darker models anyway. Like I like the shading. I don't do a lot of bright. Let's see, I'm not doing like all the edges, but we're just doing like some select edges. Like some people would go all the way around the gun. I don't like to do that, because I just want to like bring out the suggestion that that depth is there without having it look like it's a cell shaded Tron-like highlight. So, I mean, if I wanted to make this gun red, I could use like a really like dark orange highlight, or green. You could use a different, like a lighter shade of green. This technique works with any color. black's one of those colors that a lot of people have trouble with because they'll just paint the model black and they're like, well, how do I highlight black? And it's like, well, it's hard to think about it because it just neutralizes other colors, but it can be done. And some people will use an ash gray, like a really light gray, and that works too. And just like I said, this was the way I was taught 20 something years ago. And like better painters than me will actually not even use black as a color. They'll use a faux black as well, but they'll build it up from a dark brown. And well, I'm not patient enough for that. You could also start with the faux black color like this and wash it with a black ink to really like darken it down. If you can't really do that from the base black because then it just looks like your black is blotchy. But you could go with like a blue black and then wash it with a dark black ink. But I would still suggest a highlight as an additional thing. And if this wasn't a 1/285th scale model, I would probably do that if it had more detail on it. But for something this small, I'm just doing the base color and doing the painted on highlights just because it's a quicker way. So our next step, I've got kind of the black on the model where I want it, is I want to go and do the canopy so we can break up this cockpit area and figure out what our next steps are going to be for that. I'm going to be doing a decal on the side of this gun, so I didn't want anything blocking where that decal is going to go. So for the color, I'm going to use Mediterranean blue from scale 75 just because it's a blue that I really like. And since this thing's supposed to be kind of anime, it kind of fits with the theme because it's the really bright whites and the blues and the reds and stuff that you used to, especially if you watch the old Robotech. And scale 75 is some thick ass paint. So once again, we got to make sure that we add a little water, maybe not that much, because you want your consistency to be kind of transparent, just a little transparent when you're brushing with your paints. Because if you brush it and it's like thick, you're gonna leave brush marks and it's gonna look cloppy and glumpy and chalky. This is really important with your blues and your whites. You don't want it to look like it's got like powder stuck in it, because that can happen. I'm just gonna paint my blue and having it a little transparent over this white. It's going to start the basis for my glass effect that I'm going to get. Hitting the camera here with my paintbrush end. And when it comes to doing any kind of like canopies or glass when you're painting models, especially on a solid model, because we all know this stuff's clear in the real world. And like you'll see in a lot of like models where they don't have transparent canopies, where they'll paint the canopy either blue or they'll do a glossy black or a red. And it's pretty much to taste on this. Like, what do you want your canopy to look like? For me, I'm just referencing like some of the drawings I've seen in the mangas and in the stills from the Robotech cartoon, when they had the canopies like in the background of a fighter as it's cell shaded, they would have like a blue canopy. So that's kind of what we're going with here. And then we'll start like doing the glass effect from this point. So a quick glass effect. Now this can work. It's easier to do on gems and stuff that aren't like rounded cylindrical like this is supposed to be. Is we want to give the illusion that this is a transparent canopy, or like that it's a glossy glass surface. So we're gonna keep with our blue, but we're gonna add some more layers where we're gonna darken the edge down. So this is where we do our buildup. So we're leaving the top of the canopy kind of the lighter, more translucent blue, but we're edging now the bottom here with another layer of our Mediterranean blue paint. So that way we're in the same color family, but now we're darkening it up. Okay. And that's gonna give us, so now that we're lighter kind of on the top where the sun's gonna be hitting it, where the lights, and it's darker on the sides as a shading point. So now we're going to use some model color white to do highlights for the canopy. Real tiny brush. All right, so you can talk to some different artists about how to highlight gems and stuff. And when it comes to gem highlighting, like if you're highlighting a gem on a model, you would have like your lighter bands, your darker bands as it gets to like almost black on the corner. And then you would do two opposing white dots or like a white line like down here or on the top. And that's like your light points for on a gem. But it's easy because it's an oval or like a diamond or something like that. You can like have like some lines that follow the edges of the cut. For a canopy, it's a little different, and I've seen these painted 25 different ways. So this is going to be one of those things where it's up to you how you want like your glass, like your ding of the glass hitting it to look. I know that's like in a real technical term, the ding, but for me, I like to keep with the gem style of having a lined corner. So we're going to come down here and do just like a little line, and then up here at the top, if I can stop my hand from shaking. Do a light line here. And like, that's usually as far as I'll go with that. Now, some people want it really exaggerated, and they'll like come down and like do the lines like across here. And it's like, look, it's glass. Look, see the light reflecting in the glass? And there's nothing wrong with that either. I got a little thick on the one, but actually that's not bad. So it's really to taste on the model as to how like you want your highlight to look. Me personally, I like subtle. So there we go. Our last stage of the glass effect will be once the model, once we like dull coat the whole model, I will go back in with some gloss at the end and just gloss this canopy so it'll be really shiny while the rest of the model is muted out and flat. But we'll get to that later after we do decals and everything else. I don't want to like jump the gun on it and here you go, here's how you do this, and then totally like ass it up later and they're like, well, why did you do that already? Just to show you. So no, our last bit of this glassing effect will be a heavy gloss coat on the end. But that'll be for another video.